Welcome back to the Heroes of the Storm North American Regionals. The nerd chills are in full effect, but we are not even close to finished. What amazing matches we've had today and yesterday, and we have just crowned one representative of our region of North America to represent us at the World Finals in Korea, and that is going to be Cloud9. Not a surprise to many, and certainly a cool story to be brewing up. Let's check out the brackets and find out what we have left for today. Now, as I mentioned, we did just see Cloud9 advance, and they will now be joined by the winner of our next match. That will be Naventic taking on Cognitive. Now, both of these teams, the winner of this match and Cloud9, will advance to the finals in Korea. However, that first place winner, once we do the finals, will walk home with a little bit more cash as well as a bye into the round of 8 in Korea, which is huge. I don't know about you, but I am so ready to watch this match. Please let us know how excited you are. Maybe tweet a picture of you and your cat watching together on screen. Love those, but be sure to use the hashtag HGC to let us know what you're talking about. Now, it's time to bring on the teams. By some, they're considered the favorite to win the tournament. Let us know if you agree. It's Team Naventic.
All right, Naventic, a lot of people's favorites for the event. There's Fan with the sunglasses. Deal with it. And the Barrel Boys, 3 of the original members on this squad.
Yeah, it's a really interesting evolution kind of when it comes to where all these players have been. But as you said, Barrel Boys, a very old team. Each one of these players have been around for a very, very long time, been very dominant when it comes to the competitive scene. So it's not a surprise to see them be considered a favorite here at the tournament, the North American Spring Regionals. 12-1, and they are just going to be looking good going into this matchup, Jake.
The next team had a little bit tougher road to get here, and they told us this match means everything to them, not surprisingly. The next team is Cognitive.
Cognitive has made it all the way here to the playoffs, but it has not been easy. Close call after close call, but can they edge it out versus Naventic?
It's going to be really interesting to see whether they're going to be able to do it. There's going to be a lot of heroes that become crucial for them to be able to succeed here in this best of 3, and how well they're going to be able to prioritize it in the draft, I think is going to be really telling of how well they're going to do in this lineup. 20-5 is what they've been able to do, and going to Sky Temple for being one of their favorites.
You guys heard the dulcet tones of Solid Jake and Dreadnought there at the desk. Guys, we had such amazing drafts in that last match. What do you think we're going to see here?
Oh, man, you know, I'm hearing rumors of some Chen pickups from Urho. He's teasing me, one of the original Barrel Boys.
Yeah. I think Chen is actually something that we may see. I'm not going to say, I think he was maybe overhyping it a little bit, but I wouldn't pull it off the table. I think it is something that we're going to see depending on the map. I think Chen is not going to be a universal pick, and I don't think they're going to suddenly see first pick, so we might have to pull away a little bit here, but we are going to be moving on to Dragonshire, where he is going to be a very hot topic when it comes to the top lane and the solo laners, and there's more than just this to worry about, Jake. There's actually a list of heroes I want to talk about. Zeratul, Greymane, Illidan, Cho'Gall, Sonya, all of these are things that I think are going to really dictate who comes away with a win in the draft.
You know, it feels like that this event is the battle of the melee assassin.
Yeah.
We talked about that a bit earlier. I mean, so often has the meta changed to be supports are that priority or warriors are the priority, but now it's the melee heroes.
Yeah, and a lot of that I think comes down to the growth, or at least the kind of strength of Rhaegar. I think because of his strength, it now makes a lot of these other heroes, excuse me, go from just kind of like, oh, you know, they're pretty good, to just like, uh-oh, we can't let them have these two. And so that is going to be really crucial to the draft, especially when it comes to like players like Larong. We know that he kind of holds on to specific heroes like Zeratul, like the Greymane. I think has only played those two. That might be not totally accurate, but pretty much most of the games he does go to Zeratul or Greymane, and whether or not Naventic is going to be able to ban it out or pick it out on him is something I can see them doing as a draft strategy.
And on the opposite side, we've seen Zuna on Sonya quite a bit this week, and that's something that Cognitive has to be very aware of. Like seeing Zuna playing that big melee assassin, how is that pick ban process going to go? And will Rhaegar ever make it through? If so, are we going to see the Cho'Gall style? Neither of these teams really seem to prioritize that.
I actually think Rhaegar will make it through almost every draft. I'd be
just
willing
because
to say
the
that.
melee assassins just are that much more volatile?
I think that Zeratul is such a crucial point that Naventic's not even going to risk giving it to Glarm.
So
they're going to ban it every game.
If they're going to let Rhaegar through the draft, does this mean Illidan is going to become a big priority?
He is going to be, I don't know about a big priority, but an option, much like we've seen with Blaze. It's one of those situations where, yes, it is an option, but whether or not it's going to suddenly become a first pick, he's very situational, much like the Chen. You're going to see it very late in the draft, but yeah, it is a very big option when it comes to these two teams. Also, Greymane Greymane is going to be one, and Cho'Gall as well. I do agree with you, though, when you were talking about the Sonya. I've never really seen, I don't think I've ever seen Cognitive be a Sonya-style playing team ever. But I think they're going to be worried about Naventic picking it up. And if they do take it, even though it is kind of that melee that fits Glaurung's style and maybe the Cognitive's play style overall, I think it's more of a deny than a comfort if it ever happens.
One thing that's really interesting is Rory, or Cothenluck, has been playing a lot of melee assassins in this event, whereas in the past, he was really one of their priority ranged assassins.
Yeah.
So stylistically, I'm curious if he does have that Sonya in his arsenal.
It definitely could be something. I don't even know if they're completely making a role swap, if you will, when it comes to Cognitive. I think a lot of it comes down to Greymane. It just comes to Glaurung is very much a player who takes that, I'm going to all in one type of hero, and they're going to be my hero. And whenever I end up managing to pick them, they, arguably his strength on that hero is going to justify a little bit of flexibility from the remainder of his team. So if there is going to be a Greymane picked up, I think you can expect him to be onto that melee. But we are going to be stepping in the draft. Naventic ban on Zeratul almost right out the gate. I don't think they're going to even risk it. Like I said,
there it is.
It's not going to be an option. Li Ming is a response ban, most likely going to be coming out of Cognitive. You can't let Fan have that hero.
Ooh, Rhaegar.
First pick Li Ming. I don't think they're even going to wait.
Fan has been doing absolute work with Li Ming in this tournament, so like you said, it is locked in almost immediately. But now Cognitive, they can get one of their big priorities. So they could try to snipe that Sonya away if they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Thrall, a very great option here for laning.
I think Thrall is a must. They're going to go to very much comfortably when it comes to Cognitive. I think that melee is something that they're going to win up there. When it comes to the solo lane.
I haven't been feeling Coffin's Thrall in this event. He's been playing
whether
a lot
it be Coffin or just Thrall in general, I haven't felt them. They go with the Sonya denied. They're going to pick it up. Zag,
I like it.
Zag Sonya. I like the idea of taking it away here. I wouldn't be surprised to see, with the deny of Sonya, it's going to be interesting to see where Naventic kind of moves into the rest of this draft. Are they going to be worried about Jaina? They already have a mage. I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe a Greymane as a deny on the side of Cognitive.
I could say Falstad here also.
With Rhaegar not making it through, I think Cho'Gall is not nearly as effective. I do agree with you. Greymane the deny right at the
This is like reverse drafting in a way.
They're like, oh, is this what you guys want? They're arguing they are the more flexible group of players here. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jaina to kind of pair with those. I think it helps both of those heroes kind of excel. It would be, I wouldn't also be surprised if kind of an early prioritization of tank, but that Chen we were talking about, I think they might be able to wait it out, get it later into the draft.
Yeah, I definitely think that's not a priority this early here in the draft. They could lock in one of those big warriors in the front line, and Murden will be that option. So with Murden being picked up here, they do have the option of trying to lock out ETC, forcing Cognitive into something they don't like as much. I'm super curious. Now, obviously we haven't seen it in a tournament in a long time, but Glaurung used to be a big Stitches player. And there might be a realm where they might try to draft Stitches if they had to. Yeah,
I mean, you definitely are correct. That could be an option here. Already looking at this kind of small map that we're talking about, typically Sonya is considered a strong solo laner, and so is Zagara. So who they send to the solo lane, I'm going to argue it's going to be, I'm going to say that it's going to be Zag because she provides almost nothing to the 4-man, and we're using Sonya, but there is a kind of a counter strategy here. Oh, Thrall and Jane are going to be the bans out too. So, but really the 4-man is kind of struggling a little bit when it comes to the side of Cognitive. Jaina being banned out really cripples them. Not only the pairing with Sonya, but also a very heavy, nice scaling wave clear when it comes to their comp. So really good bans, very heads up on the side of Naventic.
Okay, well, Cognitive, they're not going to be worried about their support, most likely. They definitely need another ranged assassin. With Jaina being banned out here, that's very smart. What do you think works the best with this? I mean, Vala doesn't really seem all that powerful. Falstad's still on the table.
I definitely think that they should try and avoid a little bit of the sustain. I think ETC is a fine pickup. I would be surprised if they pick TAS, but I don't think it's the worst. They are going to lock it in. Okay. So they're going to be moved for that TAS. I don't know if I like this on the side of Cognitive. It's very much not complementary to the playstyle. So Naventic now going to round out their composition here. I think they have a lot of options. I don't think they're going to be going another melee, but they might. They need a solo laner in the upper half. They might send Greymane, but he doesn't do necessarily the best there. So it's going to be interesting. They're either going to decide to send him top and worry about the 4-man on these next 2 picks, or they're going to do the opposite and look for a very heavy top lane. Just overall, I think they have a really great amount of poke. The healer that they want to deny from their opponents, I think, is more crucial than anything. It's really going to be interesting. When it comes to the wave clear here in these type of situations, Karazim doesn't really provide much to it, but it is kind of a go-to when it comes to Kenma.
That's true. He plays a lot of Medic as well, but the Medic is a little bit risky considering the dive that exists on the end of Cog.
Uther, okay. I like that a little bit better. Pairs with it, and then the rounding out the composition.
So for a second Bruiser, would you like that? Maybe Diablo, maybe the Chen that we talked about a bit earlier, or do you think they have to go for another ranged?
I think they can go Chen. I just think that their composition isn't going to dominate top. It's not going to dominate in the format. I just think it's very late game-ish. It's really hard to kill anything. It's very hard to deal with their poke, but they are going to be facing a double healer as well, the Butcher.
Butcher being picked for the first time today. This is one of those super secret picks that Naventic has been teasing. They said they have a lot up their sleeve. They've been taunting us all weekend long with these kind of styles, and Butcher's been out of the meta for how long?
It's been a while, and the adjustments recently to the small patch coming to his land with the slaughter has made him an absolute threat. The Uther pick is now not only going to be a pairing there, but also a deny in the sense that it's removing the opportunity to save that person when it comes to Lamb of the Slaughter. But there is no false set going to be picked up, so is Cognitive going to try and answer that as like a deny when it comes to the Lamb? If they do, they're going to have a double sustain style composition here where... I don't know. They're going to be a solo task double sustain. Are they going to worry about a disengage? There's no healer that can really deal with this. Maybe Karazim with Palm, but I feel like they've kind of put him in a little bit of choke healed here when it comes to the draft. Also, honestly, I don't know what Naventic's going to even do when it comes to the 1-4. They have a lot of options they can work with.
What do you think about Poly for Butcher, just as like a response?
It is going to be it.
Okay, well, Brightwing does get picked up here.
I think the global is going to be really beneficial, and I do think that the poly is useful as well. But again, it runs into that same situation. Both of those healers are very susceptible post 16 to the gray main.
True.
And now you're in a situation where that poke might be enough to just kind of cripple you when it comes to the later half of that draft. But I am glad to see a couple of the teams here moving on to prioritizing a little bit of that Sonya and getting that. But both of these teams, the Butcher, how well it's going to be played out here, I'm just going to be curious to see. I really like it.
Is it going to be Zuna, you think?
I think, man, yeah, I think Zuna will be on the Butcher probably.
So Zuna feed will have a new meaning, potentially, with all that fresh meat.
I mean, absolutely at that point. Yeah, and it just, I want to know what the 1-4 is. That's what I'm most curious with. I think Butcher kind of, he does his own thing a little bit, but if they do send Zag, I fear that he struggles quite a bit when it comes to that lane. Maybe I'm wrong there. I haven't seen this matchup too often. Yeah, it's going to be Zuna is going to be playing the Butcher. Also, McIntyre is going to be on that gray main. But again, neither of them bring that much to the 4-man. Fan on Li Ming is not going to have that much wave clear. Gray main does a little bit, but not too much. But here we go. We're going to move on. Fan is on the Li Ming. As I said, Kemba will be playing Uther. Zuna will be playing the Butcher. McIntyre is going to be playing gray main. And Urho will be on the Muradin.
And on the side of Cognitive, we have Iacona on Brightwing, Cawthonluck playing Tassadar, Glaurung on the Sonya, Faye on Zagara, and Caterpillar on ETC. This is game one of the semifinals between Naventic and Cognitive, and the winner of this will be advancing to the Global Championship in Korea.
Yeah, and here we go right out of the gates. We're talking about the level 1s here. I would probably give it a little bit to the side of Cognitive unless they get a really hard burst CC stun lock coming on the side of Naventic. Just the double healers usually means, unless you have a Tyrande, that you don't have much to do. But obviously Li Ming and the stun lock coming out from Muradin Uther might be enough here. Naventic winning 64-36 here when it comes to the vote. Not surprising, they have been a very dominant team recently here in North America, and they're going head-to-head right out the gates. I do like the global pickup on the Brightwing though. When they do lock her in, he is once again Iacona getting a little bit of stealth pick on his talents, not locking anything in. So we're going to be a little bit blank and out of
He's making a name for himself in doing that.
I mean,
Holding
pretty
the talents
much.
he held his talents to level 7 in a game earlier today.
I mean,
like, that is actually just kind of silly.
At this point, he needs to be holding his front wall. He's already lost half of his turret here. Fans not caring. Here comes out another W, and ladies and gentlemen, Li Ming, this is why this was first picked on the side of Naventic. You cannot give Fan that hero. And here we go. Brightwing is going to be soloing here. So right out the gates, Uther making a really aggressive, Sonya aggressive rotation up top. But McIntyre playing very, very safe heads up, understanding the 1-4 here. And Cognitive is voluntarily losing the 1-4 for the time being with their lane rotations. They have to know that.
All right, well, yeah, just good posture around the map. In terms of the level 1 talents, I'm still Brightwing holding on to it. Nothing out of the ordinary so far. We do have that shot of Fury for Sonya to be able to just get the rage there for the abilities to be cast. Gives them a little bit more flexibility at the sacrifice of potential sustain.
Yeah, and I'm really confused with a little bit of the Cognitive's decision making here, largely because they do have a 1-4 style situation on the side of Naventic, but they realistically just Cognitive is rotating top where McIntyre's playing very, very safe, and they have the opportunity to try and contest in that 4-man, but they're just not doing it. Look at McIntyre just saying, okay, you're going to overcommit your resources here. Ask me how your front walls feel right now. So really good job. Naventic already pulling out with a little bit of a lead here, understanding how to properly play this map, and honestly, it's home territory for them. This is one of their go-tos. They have chose this map almost every time that we've seen them play so far, Jake.
Yeah, they have been playing on it. It's definitely one of their preferred battlegrounds. Level 4 almost here for both sides. A nice Hammer of Justice going out here just to back away with enforcing the phase shift of Brightwing. Of course, between mid and bottom, the distance is rather minimal, so they shouldn't be losing any of that experience.
Yeah, and a little bit of a skirmish in the mid lane. Zuna is going to be able to back out. He's actually going to turn around with hopes of the brand there, but he's not going to have the support that he's going to need at this time. Now, you see Cognitive kind of pulling together with that 4-man, maybe realizing, hey guys, we actually might be able to deal with this. They're out top lane going kind of blow for blow. Zag's going to slowly be draining out and winning that lane. Now they're going to try and get the rotation, so maybe
Sonya is
out.
on that point. If they can hold this long enough, that will be a dragon for Cognitive, and they secure it over Naventic very early in this game. A good small victory for them. This allows them to really get a nice edge on experience.
No, I think that was a really good job on their part, and a lot of that came down to just, I think they have the better 4-man, and they started to figure it out. They have the strong top lane, they have the strong 4-man, and they just, as long as they play a little bit safer, they're going to be okay. Really good kick on Naventic, or
they're going
Zuna,
for
but he's going to go. He's got
collapsing on him. The Butcher's Brand healing up through Cattle. Cattle getting very low himself, but the poly on Zuna denies him a lot of that sustain, and he does go down from the Dragon Breath.
Yeah, really good job there on the side of Cognitive. Glaurung kicking him away there, confirm that kill. And so now realizing they're capitalizing on their 1-4 situation, their early game is definitely going to be a little bit better, although this does change a lot post-10, and especially post-16 here, considering the composition of Naventic here. Both Greymane and Butcher are going to scale a lot heavier when it comes to those levels here. Cognitive now probably going to back out, look to get a little bit of pressure when it comes to the Merc control. They are winning the map right now, but I don't know if it's going to be hard enough considering their late game composition.
Okay, well, we do see we have Cattle and Glaurung abusing the fact that they have all this creep spread for vision to enable them to sit in this posture. Now, McIntyre will have that disengage in about 1 second, but the Ancient Spear follow-up is there. The knockback, McIntyre does barely escape the clutches of Glaurung's Whirlwind.
Absolutely. Barely going to be able to get that. That is going to be at least a turret here on the upper half of the map, but look, Naventic doesn't care. They're going to capitalize elsewhere. Really smart decision-making when it comes out to these two teams. Just trying to get those turrets, realizing they can't answer there, try and get it somewhere else. Nobody really getting a little bit of Merc control though, so it's pretty even here. And again, I don't think Naventic's composition really can deal with Cognitive's composition until they hit 10, so expect them to be a little bit more passive until that level.
Nice rotation continuing on here. Back and forth is Cognitive, level 7 on each side. Anything interesting? Looks like it's not going to be a teleport build for our leading fan. Just wants to poke down those towers with the power of Seeker. We do have that cleanse. And of course, the full on Gilnean cocktail style on the side of Cognitive. We actually are seeing Tumor Clutch at level 7.
Yeah, Brightwing getting picked up actually on the bottom half of the map there. She is going to end up falling down. They are getting a little bit of harassed when it comes to fan, but the fact that they got a little bit of a pick there when I think their comp doesn't have that could have scaling. Oh, but in the mid lane,
oh my goodness.
That's his E. He's going to be going
down.
He's done.
He's done. There is no way away from that Greymane. McIntyre, wow, he does slip away. Yeah, I'm surprised really they didn't go a little bit more ham on that.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to be able to do that, but also keep in mind they had no idea that the rest of their team was on those
That
knights.
is true.
We sit here with this God vision, so it helps us a little bit with that decision making. Zuna's going to back out, get a little bit of the Giants time in with the map objective. Both teams deciding to do that here, and again, it's really just Zuna and the rest of Naventic are just kind of waited out. They realize that their composition isn't necessarily the most dominant here when it comes to levels 1 through 9, but again, when that spike hits, expect a lot of land plays coming out from this composition.
All right, the charge on the Cattle power slide still available here for him, and with the Pixie Dust, he will be A-okay, but that means the bottom shrine will be controlled by Naventic, whilst we have Zagara in the top completely dominating that lane.
Yeah, it's just really that they didn't choose a top laner to be able to deal with Zagara, and their 4-man just doesn't provide very much wave clear. Or excuse me, but Naventic's wave clear is 1 through 9 is not very good, but you see the 4-man posture around defending these Giants on the bottom half of the map. A little bit of a lack of siege on Naventic's composition, considering the fact that Butcher is just honestly about as good as Illidan when it comes to that, risking his life in that situation, but now we are honing in on the level 10s.
Greymane is up top, so he's not here for this battle. That's why you see Naventic really just backing away. Kong got their level 10 first, Naventic now just locking theirs in. In terms of heroics, we do see the Lamb to the slaughter. This is one of the things that's making Butcher very viable ever since the changes made in that recent patch.
Yeah, it's one of the situations where they're going to lamb, they're going to double reset, and then they're going to keep pursuing the rest of the team fight. The counter to that is going to be a polymorph, a force wall, a maw, and a mosh pit. So a lot of answers to it when it comes to the composition of Cognitive.
Yeah.
How well they're going to be able to use this lamb is very crucial. Keep in mind, it is a relatively short cooldown, I do believe here, at 60 seconds. So it doesn't force them to always engage directly when it is going to be used. But now they have hit the spike where they're going to be able to compete. Expect some very aggressive rotations on the side of Naventic.
Okay, well, we do see Urho is scouting this out in the mid lane, just kind of getting eyes on everyone else and pulling their attention. That's when the big rotation is coming up. Phase shift in from Brightwing, trying to keep Cattle alive, but the Maw does go down, buying them a good bit of time. The Divine Shield used very early in the battle in the Mosh Pit on 3 targets of Naventic. Cognitive with a beautiful team fight, a 3 for nothing.
Absolutely, and that was all from Faye, locking in that 3-man mosh. And then Naventic Kenma getting blocked out there. Notice how Zagara instantly rotates to the bottom half of the map, ensuring the fact she gets the shrine, making sure her team will get the DK and get as much advantage as she possibly can out of this. Very good rotation. Faye being a very big playmaker early in this game. 3-man mosh set up for the mosh pit. There's very little interrupt on the side of Naventic there, and then just locking it in, getting a DK here, and that's 2 DKs to 0 on the side of Cognitive. I mean, that's the lead they kind of need when considering the composition Naventic has. I do think it's going to have a little bit of struggle, at least when it comes to that post-16 spike, but honestly, if you're 2 levels ahead, who cares?
Yeah, they're well ahead right now. The Dragon Knight has just spawned, but it's 40 seconds. You're going to see Cathan use it rather safely, just poking in, getting these wave pushed out, and then rotating. While he's in that Dragon Knight, he's an additional threat, allowing his team to really start to push in those other lanes.
Absolutely, and expect they get that 3-man rotation here, keep the DK alive as long as possible. Notice that has been a pattern that we've seen with all the early game map objectives today. 13 tier is going to be closed in on the side of Cognitive, but I don't think they're going to be trying to abuse that so much. It's not one of the biggest advantages that you can get in the game here, but they're sitting pretty, really, for the most part here. Yeah. Especially having that global, it's going to be coming into big play later in the half of the game. When the 20 marks are hitting, those 1 picks is all it takes to lose a DK. Expect that Brightwing Iacona to be making very big plays.
Okay, in terms of talent, again, pretty standard pickups across the board for both of the teams at level 13. Well, not quite there for Naventic
Ice
yet.
block. That is not something you see every day on Brightwing.
Okay.
Ice block, but oh, big damage there. Polymorph coming out onto McIntyre, and that's going to be 1 dead wolf there.
And we do see Naventic just trying to get a little bit of additional pressure from the Mercenaries. Beyond that, they're playing rather safe, playing behind, waiting for their level 13 talents, and even disengaging off their bruiser camp because Cog does decide to invade, taking a page out of the book of Naventic.
I mean, pretty much there, and they're going to be taking that top 4 for free here in this situation. Really well done. Huge lead. Honestly, this is a... Oh, it seems like a new Cognitive, honestly. I did not expect them to be walking into this game and establishing dominance this early onto this matchup. They definitely seem to look like they were struggling a little bit with all the teams that they've gone up against, and now going against what is considered to be the favorite, just saying, hey guys, don't worry, we've got this. Levels 1 through 14, really leading over their opponents here, and they have the comp to try and abuse this more and more as it goes on here. But we do see the 13 talent here for Butcher is actually going to be Crave Flesh here, so he's going to have that mobility there when he has the brand out.
Yeah, that makes him so scary. I mean, once he gets sick onto you, it guarantees him the additional self-sustain, especially if he's charging down after something like ATC or Sonya, because those are two heroes that are rather hard to stick to.
Yeah, it is, and they are, you see Cognitive backing out, getting a lot of split pressure there on the map. All the Merc camps are now going to be pushing into their favor, into the lanes where there are the shrines. That will provide a little bit of extra vision. This is a team fight that Naventic's going to want to pick here. It's surprising that Brightwing isn't going top, and they're going to abuse the global on the bottom half of the map here. They're risking a fight before they hit 16 on the side of Cognitive. This is going to be sketchy. If they decide to fully commit to this fight, it's probably one of the only ones they can actually lose. Now Zuna going up the upper half of the map, saying we don't actually want that fight here. I don't know, a little bit of split decision making here from both teams. Definitely a late rotation coming up from both sides, honestly.
Yeah, but Cognitive, they're going to have that beautiful window with level 16 over just basically a level and a half to just kind of force those fights on Naventic or force them off the shrines. So it's going to be difficult for Naventic to deny another Dragon Knight for the side of Cognitive. Yeah,
especially with Iacona sitting on the bottom half of the map here. He's going to just keep a little bit of sight, realize everybody's down here, wait till they get 16. I wouldn't be surprised if he made a rotation up, or actually he's probably going to stay bottom and dance a little bit, but his team is now going to be making very aggressive rotations. Expect them to try and force the fight. Keep in mind, fighting on the shrine that you need is the ideal situation when you are playing Dragonshire. The reason for that is it increases the chances of you getting a DK okay by a large margin. Rather than needing to get a full team wipe, it allows you to get just 1 to 2 picks here. You see Brightwing capping on the bottom half of the map, and the rotation is going to be coming in. Kem is going to delay this.
Yeah, a nice delay from Kenma, denying that Dragon Knight. And Brightwing continuing to tilt me by stalling out his talents.
He's really trying to figure it out here. Is he going to go greater polymorph? Is he going to go that Criticarize? Absolutely calculated on the side.
Oh my goodness,
Icona.
McIntyre pretty low. A nice big bomb going out there from Fan, but not really quite enough pressure. Brightwing still has a presence in bottom, but Muradin did recapture the top shrine for Naventic. So this little dance over the dragon, so far so good as they're trying to stall for level 16.
To make you guys kind of appreciate how valuable wave clear is at the professional level is know how little wave clear Naventic has and how hard of a time on a map like this they've had. They just can't seem to figure out what they need to do, where they need to rotate, because they have no vision over their opponents until it's a little bit too late here. Granted, obviously a couple of picks here and there have definitely helped the snowball even more, but I'm honestly amazed Cognitive hasn't been able to force a fight before their opponents get to 16. Slowly but surely, Naventic is just dancing around their opponents, capitalizing here. Up in the upper half, they're going to be trying to... No, they aren't even going to go head-to-head. They're going to give up.
Oh, okay, so the laser room going in. Urho rotating down. Level 16 is still not here, so Urho needs to be rather careful. Cattle just waiting for him with the knockback. The power slide still available, and he goes in. Muradin is a sitting duck, and out he goes. That will be another dragon. After they reclaim that bottom tower.
Okay, so yeah, then Naventic actually capitalized on that, but what actually happened during that was Kenma and Zuna both committed to Iacona. Iacona actually used Ice Block to prevent Relentless Onslaught and then actually forced a Lamb of the Slaughter cooldown out from them, and then he captures it and they get a DK here on the side of Cognitive. This is honestly worst case scenario across the board for Naventic. They're slowly getting to the situation to where maybe their power spike is going to capitalize over maybe those weak healers and the amount of poke that they have. But if they aren't going to hit that poke, Jake, this is looking rather grim for their composition.
So all those matches earlier today where Cognitive was on the ropes have funneled them into their true form, coming in hard here into the semifinals versus Team Naventic. A 2-level lead for them over what arguably is the top team in North America.
Yeah, it's really well done on their part, and they get a little bit of harass there going on to McIntyre. He's going to be backing up. This is still 5 versus 4 here. Cognitive is going to be trying to take out this key front wall. They aren't going to be able to get much more than that, but the race to 20 is going to be heavily won. If you are on the side of Naventic, you need to be forcing this fight. You have hit your power spike if you are going to have one when it comes to your composition.
They're going for Brightwing up top. Can they get it? We see Butcher charging on in. The Limb of the Slaughter does connect, but Ice Block stalling out a good bit of time. Urho and Butcher just shredding through Iacona, and the pick is there, but how much damage can that dragon do?
It's going to take out a front wall there, which it inevitably would have done without that, so they just get a free pick there. Good job on the side of Naventic. They need to keep staggering these deaths. They have to keep forcing. They're losing the race to 20. If they don't capitalize here, they're essentially going to walk away with nothing. But now, keep in mind, because there's so many structures up on the side of Cognitive, the area for them to retreat is very, very short on all lanes except for bottom here. So, honestly, I feel like Cognitive is going to be able to play this game safe. Hopefully, they're going to be playing as passive as possible until they manage to get to that 20-tier advantage, trying to force their global advantage over their opponent. It's just really between the wave clear and the global that they have. They haven't even need to really team fight Naventic, right? Which I feel like their composition is kind of built to do. You get the reset, you force the team fight, and you walk away. But if they can't keep up with the rotations that Cognitive's been able to pull out, I mean, team fighting doesn't have to happen if you can't keep up with the rotations.
Very good point. Well, Naventic trying to just catch up in that experience, but their time is limited as Cog is well on their way to level 20. Urho desperately looking for that target to lock down, but Coffin Luck is so hard for that target. Dimensional Warp with Prescience. He is just going to slide on out of there.
Honestly, I would be surprised if Cthon decides to keep forcing this fight. Brightwing's on top, and they're so close to 20. Expect a Lamb. No, they're going to back out and not take it. I would not turn on this fight. This is actually very risky on the side of Cognitive, but they're going to take it.
They're going on in with that charge, but just a single target mob for Butcher. Polymorph buying a lot of time onto Urho, but he pops the Avatar and he re-engages. Dwarf tossing on in, but the blink heal back for Iacona to get to safety. Now Urho overextended the power slide forward to try to lock him down. Heal's just barely keeping him topped off.
And honestly, this situation is where it kind of shows how the composition is going to be going for Naventic. They're forcing the fight before they're getting the poke coming up from the Gray Man. It's not really working for them. Also, the deny of the Sonya might be something that's really kind of hurting their style of compositions. not getting anything out of these team fights. I really feel like they need to sit back a little bit more, poke a little bit when it comes to the concentrated blast on the side of Naventic with that gray main here. But now 20 is going to be achieved. They have a global. They have better wave clear. Overall, Cognitive it's kind of their game to lose, really. That was the best team fight Naventic's going to get almost this entire game, and it definitely didn't look good.
No, they didn't get anything out of it. Still down a full level and a half, and Cognitive has achieved level 20 with their Storm talents. Rewind for the double poly on Brightwing. Storm Shield for the big sustain on Tassadar, and Zuna getting burned down. Divine Shield has to be used very early, but I don't think there's any way he can get out of this. The Lance of the Slaughter has been cast, but he will go down, and that is a 55-second death timer.
And that's most likely, okay, really smart rotation from Glorong needs to be very passive here. That's really smart for him to sit in the shrub. So they know the global is going to be going top. Naventic knows they need to get a pick, so he's scouting for him. Iakona's still in a very risky situation. Notice how he's staying over the wall. That's providing the ability for him to blink out of that if he decides to force the fight. Beautiful rotations for Cognitive. That was absolutely flawless, honestly. And they're going to walk away with a DK. That was brilliant.
Another dragon. They are just dominating every rotation in this game. They have the eyes, they have the peels, they have everything they need. And Naventic just can't seem to find a break. They've only picked up 2 kills this entire game to the 8 of Cognitive.
I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that rotation was like almost flawless. That was, it could not have gone better. Usually one pick is not going to lead to a DK just instantly like this, maximizing the value of the DK. Now it's still a 5 versus 4 in this type of situation. Not level 20 here. Expect maybe a flank coming out. I don't know. But going for core is something that I don't know if Cognitive is going to be able to do. It's only a 17-minute DK. It's going to be a little bit of a risky fight. They kick it out here. They're split. Not all of them are committing to core here.
Oh, the shields are falling rather quickly here. Dread down to 99%. A nice mosh in the bag, buying a good bit of time.
That's it.
And the Maw on 2 targets. Naventic will not be able to stop this. And game number 1 will go over to Cognitive.
That was impressive. Honestly, it was a really smart decision-making, trying to go onto the backline there and commit to killing. All right, we're getting a little out here, but essentially it's going to be one of these situations where because they tried to overfocus, it was smart to get on the backline trying to get on Zagara. What that did was enabled them to try to get a Maw, which would have helped confirm that the core chase there, honestly, from Cognitive, but that was on all fronts a stomp, really. There was not a single thing that Naventic did that was better than what Cognitive. They won on every way possible.
They won the draft, they won the rotations, they controlled the dragon 100% of the game, and they invaded better than Naventic does.
They did make that invasion. To be fair, they cheated a little bit on the sense that they had Tassadar provide sight beforehand, and there was a man down, so they understood.
Hey, man.
I mean, it was a very good rotation. I'll give it to them. They definitely got him a free forward in the upper half of the map, but all they did was they won top lane in the 1v1. They had nobody to be able to deal with that 1v1, right? That was what I was kind of talking about, where I didn't know what Naventic was going to do in the top lane. Oh, here we go. We are going to get in the highlights here, Jake, though, and right here.
Look at that Maw. A 3-man Maw with a follow-up of the mosh pit. Yeah, Cattle goes perfectly positioned, the perfect timing, and that just secures them that big lead that allowed them to continue it throughout the game.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it just snowballed, honestly, from this point on. And a lot of it came down, Faye instantly making a brilliant rotation here, right? Notice how fast she goes on the DK to confirm it here. And this was really well done. So you see that Naventic is going to move past everyone trying, because the DK is pretty weak, honestly, this early on. The Maw is going to be the isolation tool that can confirm this game. So they try to kill her.
Was so good.
Oh, yeah, and no, watch it. This Iacona keeps her alive. She's going to end up getting a cleanse here. Then she's going to be able to bolt out, which keeps her alive. The Maw is going to confirm 2 people to isolate. Meanwhile, they're on the court. That was the game-winning play there.
Iacona played out of his mind in that matchup, the talent staller himself.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. The talent staller. No, it was really well done in his part, but as I was saying, on the top lane, they lost the top lane. When it came to the wave clear, they lost on the wave clear. It seems like Naventic kind of had an idea of what they wanted to do in the draft, but kind of forgot about the basics of a map that is debatably, I would argue, they're probably the best Dragonshire team in North America. I just feel like a lot of the teams have pulled away from it as of last year, and Battlefield of Eternity, other maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen are something that the rest of the teams like, but they love Dragonshire, and Cognitive just took them on home turf.
That is impressive. Well, Battlefield of Eternity will be the second map of this best of 3 series, and remember, this is it. This is a qualification match for the World Championship, the Global Championship in Korea later this spring. If you lose here, it's over. You're done. There's no second chance.
Yeah, I mean, Naventic has to actually pull out absolutely everything, and I don't No, I feel like a lot of that came down to draft, to be totally honest. And what they're going to do to adapt in the draft is going to be very interesting, especially when it comes to the Zeratul. I don't think that they're going to be willing to risk that in a lot of situations. They do not want that to be in the hands of Cognitive. I do think they're going to pull away from the denial Greymane probably after that. I don't think they're going to come in as confident with like, hey, we're just going to deny. I think Sonya will be a little bit higher prioritization on their half. And what is Cognitive going to do when it comes to their draft? I don't really know. I think that they're going to stick to their kind of their roots. You know, Greymane, I think is going to be a must.
They definitely have the mental upper hand, though. At the end of the day,
yeah.
I mean, Naventic had to be confident coming into this. Cognitive, they looked like they were struggling with every other team in this tournament. And not to say that, you know, they should be necessarily that much better than their opponents, but I think a lot of people expected Cog to look a little bit more dominant in the earlier matches.
I agree with you 100%. Cognitive came in as debatably the 3-4 seed, and it was going to be kind of just like a plow through the bottom 4 teams and then walk in here and maybe then expect this one to go down. They seem to struggle against all the lower end teams, get against Naventic, and then put up some of the games of their, like best games of their lives.
Were they just sandbagging? Were they just hiding their strats?
I mean, is this next level? Hello? But they are going to be banning out the Ming right at the gates. I think Naventic's still going to ban Zeratul. If they don't, it already shows how drastic their mentality is shifted when it comes to that first game. Okay, so they do get rid of it. They're still confident in their playing here. I like that a lot when it comes to them. The first pick here, going to be the Rhaegar. Not a surprise there by any means. I think Sonya is going to be instant pick for Naventic. I don't think they want that
Sonya
to be out of their hands. I feel like maybe their next pick, I don't know. With Li Ming off the table, I think Zach. It's Battlefield of Eternity. I think they love Zagara. When it comes to this map, what she can do when it comes to the Immortals, she can just essentially obliterate them on their own. They love this strategy where they do a 4-man defense and a 1-man offense with Zagara. They did it with Sergeant Hammer in the past as well.
It's like safe poke, yeah, you just siege it up.
They love doing that kind of strategy. So I would definitely think that they're going to be moving with a Sonya Zagara here this early in the draft. But definitely adaptation is going to be necessary on their half when it comes to drafting, because I feel like they definitely struggle there. Boom. They're going to lock that in here. Cognitive, what's their answer? I think Thrall. They've been loving melees.
Thrall Jaina makes a lot of sense to me, or Muradin for an earlier pick. I mean, beyond that, Falstad is great for the disengages, but without Zeratul, what would they put Glowering on? You think Greymane this early? You think it's worthwhile?
I think they're gonna. I think they're afraid of the ban, and I think that's such a comfort. I think they're gonna go for it. I would like to see them hold off on it though. Largely because I think that so by locking that in, they essentially left Naventic into a situation to where I don't think Naventic wanted Greymane, and I think Naventic is worried about Cho'Gall when there is a pick on Rhaegar. So I think the next ban phase, Naventic would have been worried about a Cho, ban out Cho, and give up Greymane later. Essentially, they didn't get a top pick that they could have up no matter what. But that was some really next level, I guess, when it comes there. I can understand trying to take the safety pick, taking it up right now, and I do like the Jaina pairing there. Both of these teams drafting, honestly, superb right so far in this.
Yeah. So is it going to be that Cho'Gall ban here for Naventic? Are they worried about the pairing? We've seen Rhaegar Cho'Gall have a phenomenal win rate throughout this tournament, and it's something that Naventic is well aware of. So if they respect that threat, they could ban that. Otherwise, they could try to get a warrior lock by removing something like Muradin or ETC and then picking up one of those for themselves.
I think if they let Cho'Gall through, it's more saying that they either want to play it. Okay, they're going to get rid of it. All right, so now on the side of Cognitive, what are they going to be removing from their opponents here? That's a good question. I mean,
you got to think about this map with Abathur and Fan on Abathur. You got to think about McIntyre on Falstad. Ooh, but Tassadar.
I think Lunara is going to be something we might see here. I definitely think Medic is also going to be something we see. I might be picked up in this rotation because no, it will be weighted on. Sorry about that. Rhaegar is going to be picked up for Cognitive. So I think Medic's going to be the healer on the side of Naventic. They love that on this map. The large amount of long sustain. Who their frontline is going to be most likely, I think, is going to be ETC here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, or Muradin, either one, whatever one they think is better in this type of situation.
I wonder if they would do what Cloud9 was doing with like the no true warrior with just Sonya and go for like Thrall.
I don't think there's any way. This game legitimately decides whether or not they go to Korea.
That is true.
I don't think that's necessarily a strategy that everybody considers to be really, really dominant. So they think Muradin is going to be a better tank here. I agree, actually. The pairing with Jaina and is going to be a counter to what might be the ETC picked up on the side of Cognitive. Where are they going to move with this last pick here, though? Very, very interesting. Are they going to go with another melee-style hero?
Seems risky.
I think it's risky as well. I don't know where else they want to go when it comes to comp. I don't think they're going to go with Falstad, largely because they already have Zagara. The Tassadar was banned out, which is going to be a good pairing they want. Jaina's been denied, which is another good pairing that they were going to want. So now they're kind of left with something that is not necessarily what we know to be a Naventic pick, and it's going to be the Raynor.
Wow, we haven't seen much of Raynor at all this weekend, but of course he is a powerful melee assassin. Pairs great with that medic if we do see her as that final pick for Naventic, and that is very likely considering the map and of course the compositions.
On the side of Cognitive, I would expect to see an ETC here. I think with having Greymane going to be locked in, they could pull away from it, but they've paired the two together a lot, so I think you're right. It might be an ETC Thrall on their half, and then last pick, I think 100% the support that Naventic's going to go with is going to be
Medic.
A medic. Yeah. If it's not, it's Karazim, but I feel like the Raynor says we are going for it. Jojo Falstad. Not what I did not expect that anywhere in here. The sustained DPS, it makes a little bit of sense, but
I like this a lot, though, just because I really have not been feeling Cawthon on Thrall, like, at all. I mentioned that earlier, and it just looked, it was costing them a lot of those earlier games.
I agree with you. A lot of it came down to a little bit of the awareness when it came on to the one-on-one, getting a little bit of rotational picks, I believe against Team Blaze specifically, but Naventic, thinking about this one, Karazim or Medic, I think Raynor says 100% we're going Stim Drone Medic. Yeah. I don't really think that they would pick that without that intent, but also I'm obviously not them. They have very different priority heroes than I do, but when looking at this, I think Cognitive drafted exactly kind of what they wanted. Which
it looks that way.
At Medic, there it is going to be locked in. So when we think about the last game, we were kind of talking about how these two kind of role swapped, right, on what they were liking to pick up. Greymane was on the side of Naventic. Sonya was on the side of Cognitive. Like, what is happening now? Both of these teams going a little bit back to their home territory. Do you think maybe because they swapped not so much the comfortability of heroes, but maybe just because one of them has a better meta when it comes to what's comfortable, now going back, that it's just going to be Naventic pulling through, or no?
To me, this feels like a more comfortable draft for both teams, just stylistically in general. So I give the edge to Naventic on that, but pulling Cawthon off that Thrall, pulling him back onto a ranged assassin, which we will see in this situation, I think will be a huge edge for them, because he, like I said, I don't want to harp on it too much, but I know I kind of am right now, but he was really feeding a lot in the early portions of some of the games throughout this weekend. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Was a little bit of a handicap at times. They have the mental momentum going into this, Cognitive. They definitely do.
They absolutely do. Falstad, I think a lot of it's going to come down to how well Falstad plays for the most part. Other than that, when it comes to their composition, I feel like it's very, very standard. Faye is going to be on Jaina, which is a comfort pick for her. I know that Naventic wanted to try and ban that out, but here we go. Fan is going to be playing the Raynor for Naventic. Kenba is going to be on Lieutenant Morales. Zuno will be playing the Sonya. McIntyre will be playing Zagara, and Urho will be on that Murden.
And on the side of Cognitive, currently up 1-0, we have Iacona on Rhaegar. Cawthon playing Falstad. Glaurung on Greymane. Faye will be playing as Jaina, and Caterpillar rounding out the team as Johanna. This is game number 2 of the semifinals, and we're going into Battlefield of Eternity.
This could be match point for Korea, ladies and gentlemen, here. If Cognitive is able to pull out this game here, it would be not only a huge upset, but also just honestly a massive disrupt and ripple that would affect through all of the North American scene. Like, this is actually insane if they are able to pull this out here. So it's going to be interesting. Do they have what it takes there? Glaurung is going to be on his comfort pick. That is going to be the Greymane. And as you said, Cawthon is no longer going to be on a melee. And when it comes to this game...
50-50 for the votes. I love seeing that in a match with stakes as high as this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, though. When it comes to comfortability, I feel like Naventic is at home when it comes to their draft. And if both teams are at home and history repeats itself, there's going to be Naventic walking away with a possible win here, Bo.
So Naventic, they're really not cutting any corners. We're going to see a lot of creep spread out of Zagara and scouting drone on top of that. So they want as much vision as they can get, especially when it comes to posturing and looking for those party bushes that could be set up on the side of Cognitive.
Yeah, and they're going to run with a 1-4 here. Both teams looking up in the upper half of the map. Cognitive is sitting. Greymane's waiting patiently for McIntyre to overextend here. They love this. Honestly, they've been trying to pick on Mac left and right.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a habit from practice or something, where they just feel like he is a weak player that will overextend at some point here. Again, still just waiting forever on the side for Glaurung there.
Being very patient, knowing that there could
he
be
does
a threat.
go for
He
it.
steps
That's gonna
forward,
be it.
Greymane comes out, Zagara taking a ton of damage, and down he goes. Even with Urho rotating up, not able to save his Zagara Queen.
That is absolutely huge here to start out this game already after a major loss as you just faced on Naventic, and then right at the gates already getting one little bit of a pick here. It feels like maybe Cognitive might be in your brain here. But again, it's not too big of an advantage realistically. It's just whether or not mentally it is going to be.
Yeah, Ancient Spirit just barely missing due to the grenade knocking Falstad back a few inches on the screen, at least. In the real world, it's probably a little bit further. And of course, right now, I mean, that's just a mental victory.
It is. I'm really interested on Kenma actually going with Scouting Drone at level 1 is not something you normally see. But Glaurung maybe overextending a little bit. Zuna coming in and punishing him very heavily on that Sonya, which he loves to play. But Scouting Drone choice is almost something that you never really see. I think it's very fearful of the site when it comes to this empty area in the Fog of War here. You see him trying to abuse it there, but both teams making aggressive rotations to the map objective. Remember, I was telling you, they love to run a kind of a 1-4 strategy where they'll send McIntyre onto the map objective and the rest of the forum defend. Look, that's exactly what you see here.
Zuna dives in with the Ancient Spear on Faye, but Glaurung bites back with the Wolf, and we see so much damage from Cawthon on that Falstad. The Hammering connecting on 2, and they really do chunk through the health bars. But Kenma, he just has so much healing on the medic.
Absolutely, and you see already, look at McIntyre, he's been wailing on it the entire time. This is honestly the bread and butter of Naventic. They love this strategy on this map. Whether or not Cognitive is gonna understand how they play and be able to punish them is a different story though. They'll just send one person on, specifically Zagara, the entire game onto the map objective and then just everybody else defend there. But now they're gonna see Cognitive splits for the soak here, not committing to the map objective to lose a little bit more. It's not gonna be the end of the world. They aren't gonna gain too much soak advantage either though. And Naventic is just slowly behind. They do win the Immortal, but not by a large margin. It's going to be a pretty close to dead even game here. 4 talents going to be picked up for both teams. And so far, it doesn't look like anything out of the ordinary. Obviously, we're never going to know Iaconas, but past that.
That is tilting me so hard. You have no idea. Well, the double focus attack on Sonya and Reyna are going to just give them a lot more additional damage, especially here when you're fighting over the Immortals. Like you mentioned, the early game Immortals don't tend to do that much damage, and you can see it's already lost its shield, but it's enabled a big push in the bottom lane, and that's exactly what's happening. The experience now will swing in favor of Naventic just slightly.
Yeah, and they're going to be getting a little bit on the upper half of the map as well. Half a front wall, and the bottom half a confirmed an entire front wall. So pretty even here. The Immortal will be going up top for them, but it's not really going to be getting him any major advantage. Both teams going to be backing out, looking for a little bit of Merc control. Definitely want to point out, though, a little bit when it comes to Kenma's build, definitely not necessarily the most straightforward build. Here at level 4, he is going to go in with Infused Grenade, going more of a grenade build here to try and peel a little bit off of himself, most likely to deal with the medic. Or not medic, excuse me, but the Greymane.
Yeah. Do you think he'll go for a clear at level 7 by any chance, or do you think that's a little bit too all in?
I think so, honestly.
Okay.
I don't see him gaining too much value unless he has a strategy that he wants to look for when it comes to pairing his Q or a mule, which isn't usually a common strategy when it comes to this map.
Yeah.
But both teams being pretty even here, Cognitive is really showing that they are able to pull games not only off them, but possibly this one here as well. Timing the Merc camp here. The invade from Urho, spotting it out here.
All right, well, he's kind of just back away. Muradin was scouting out the right side Bruiser camp, but realizing it's too risky to do on his own, so he does back on up. Bruiser camp picked up on either side, and level 7 is indeed around the corner. We'll see if we have any more mixes. Will Meta continue to spec into her grenade for the sustain against the dangerous Wolf of Glaurung? We're about to find out.
It's really interesting to see that both of those teams decided to capture that camp earlier than what is considered to be normal, just largely because now it's going to be easily cleared out by both teams. But consider the fact that Cognitive is defending and not on the offensive situation.
Medic is healing the fallen shaman. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really beneficial and make Cognitive stay a little bit longer, but when you look on the upper half of the map, Zuna is able to clear out the Shaman slowly but surely, not quite there yet, so a rotational advantage going to be in favor potentially of Cognitive. There you go, you see them all in and committing to this. McIntyre again, look at, they love this strategy. McIntyre, you get on the Immortal, everybody else be on the defensive.
And it's working out nicely so far. He's really chunking through that health on its own relatively well, down to about a quarter of it, but just a bit behind from Cognitive, who do manage to get the reset here. So it's going to force the Immortals to kind of reposition across the map in the top and bottom locations.
And you are correct when you're talking the 7 clear is going to be picked up for Kenma on that Morales. But the defense here, Cognitive playing a little bit different here, saying we're going to take out a front wall instead, get a little bit of XP, not worry about it. They understand that they won the phase here, and now they're going to be the ones on defensive. Both of these teams playing a little bit different here now. After that first phase, really interesting adaptation for Cognitive when it comes to strategy.
Yeah, Glaurung just trying to burn through this, not even using his wolf form because, well, I'm not even too sure why. There he goes, because the wolf form does indeed have better damage output.
Yeah, it does there, and it's a little bit maybe because the AoE spin there is going to have a spin phase and then 2 stun phases and then back to the spin phase. Naventic, excuse me, understanding this, realizing Glaurung's on it and trying to back out here. But honestly, Cognitive is losing this situation. They started with winning the phase by almost 50% to 100, and now they're in a situation where both of them now have dropped to almost even in HP here, showing that they're maybe falling a little bit behind when it comes to their strategy, and they aren't gaining too much on the XP train to necessarily justify this decision-making.
Okay, well, we see Urho just trying to get his team into position, but no, does decide to back away, but the Immortal is being chipped away slowly but surely. Glaurung denied his rotation down to the Immortal of Naventic. Naventic doing a good job trying to control this phase, but with Johanna stepping in, giving a lot of peel, Zuna trying to flank from the side on Sonya, gets into position to start really powering through this Immortal. This will be yet another Immortal for Naventic.
Yes, and it's not going to have the most amount of health being only the second Immortal. It's not like it's going to be plowing through. Level 10 advantage is not going to be achieved for either team either at this point, so it's pretty even footing. They will maybe gain a little bit out of this. It's not going to be getting any front wall, so no spike in XP. At most, it's going to be the spike from the fort here. Sonya going to soak on the bottom half of the map, so they are worried about level 10 here, and a little bit of siege up here. No Hyperion quite yet here, Jake, but Cognitive has put up, honestly, a pretty good game so far, especially considering this is a strategy that Naventic has been absolutely dominant with in the recent past.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, their Sonya looks so much more comfortable than Butcher on Zuna, I have to say. And very, very methodical play so far. This fort likely will end up falling.
You're going to have 10 if this fort
down,
dies.
and yes, the moment it goes down, level 10 will be achieved.
This is going to be a little bit risky here for the stay. They aren't going to commit to that. I honestly thought there was no chance that Urho just didn't like dwarf toss and force it. I personally love Medevac. I find it interesting considering the fact that they have a Rainer, and I felt like Stim Drone was inevitable, which means he's very worried about his own life, I think is what he's trying to say there. He's going to be using that as a health tool.
It's like an ice block, kind of.
I mean, it kind of is. It gives you 2 health bars, maybe like a miniature Odin from way back in the day there.
Oh, man. But throwback.
It is a really great tool. I've always loved the Medvac. It's a really good, short cooldown, so it can be used in many different situations.
All right, Zuna is not aware that there are 4 members in this bottom lane, but his team is actually no, they do know. They're making it down. Zuna taking a bit of damage first. Glaurung comes up, denying that camp for the time being, and the re-engaging Glaurung in a bad spot. The Ring of Frost not going to connect on anyone, but the Ancestral is successful in connecting. So Glaurung could re-engage if he's feeling so bold, but it looks like they're just going to concede this Khazra camp in the bottom.
And keep in mind, that was 4 ultimates used on the side of Cognitive.
Oh,
not a single one was used for
That's really bad.
That was huge. That's going to give them in a situation where they understand that they're going to be able to siege up here and say, well, what are you going to do, ult me? So the little bit of a siege here, Hyperion is going to be a really big power tool when it comes to that as well. I don't think they're going to be using it. I honestly feel like with that lack of Stim Drone, they need Hyperion to win team fights, and I really wanted to make sure that Fan is going to be patient here when it comes to those kind of tools and understanding what his team needs to win team fights. The Shaman camps are spawning for both teams, and the Immortals are going to be spawning roughly in the next 15 seconds. It'll give us the warning, and most likely they're going to be backing out, picking up these camps. There we go. It is giving us the warning here, and they're going to be timing this with the Immortal, making sure it's split pressure. Keep in mind, with the Global sitting on fall stat, in theory, they're going to have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to the Shamans pushing here, Jake.
Yeah, structurally, this game very much in favor of Naventic, considering they did get those first 2 Immortals, and they are making their way over to the right side to try to contest that Immortal of Cognitive. Again, Heroics on cooldown, just 10 seconds on Ring of Frost and Ancestral Heal, so they can stall out long enough for an even team fight, but Hyperion is going to be one of those big, heavy, forced initiators.
And Zuna getting a little bit of harassment here. I'm a little bit fearful of the Medvac decision-making to be offensive. I feel like their composition, now that they don't have necessarily the large amount of DPS that they might need to win team fights here with that Stim Drone.
Yeah, but
now,
look at that safe poke, though.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely able to get it here. Glaurung doesn't have that kind of power spike with the concentrated blast there at 16, but I don't know. On the bottom lane, meanwhile, it's going to be getting roughly a fort here at this point, getting a lot of siege there with that Shaman. It actually managed to tank there, so it's going to go die down, not confirm that fort there for them. Zagara clearing on the upper half, but you are right. Naventic is getting the poke that they absolutely love when it comes to their comp.
Yeah, they're just slowly but surely winning this phase. So Cognitive, they're just kind of pressed to try to make something happen, force them back. But if they slip up, they need to be worried about clumping for the Maw. The power of Hyperion for that disengage or engage safely on the side of Naventic. And there's just a lot of big power options. Blast Shield goes out, they find Raynor too far forward, and they blow up Fan very quickly. A good play by Cognitive, but Cattle taking a lot of damage in this front line, trying to peel through. Avatar was used on Urho, but he's not going to get the full use out of it as he backs away.
Yeah, that was absolutely well played on the side of Cognitive, just overcommitting to that fight. Not even overcommitting, they walk away with a kill and an advantage in this situation. But look at, they aren't able to capitalize here. They have a man up and they're still afraid to take this 4 vs 5. That healing from Lieutenant Morales, taking these very long fights and saying, hey guys, you guys can't actually deal with this. Iakona's not able to out-heal that type of situation. You see him trying. It's going to be interesting. Is Iacona going to be looking to take tidal waves to be able to compete with Morales' long healing?
Actually, with this build, it's considering it went for Feral Heart.
I
think
personally
you're right.
think he's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
He's going to be looking for the tidal waves to be able to compete with these very, very long fights that happen around these Immortals. The flight coming in from Chthon to be able to get the 5 vs 5 here. Medivac has been yet to be used this entire game. Look at the flank.
Oh,
he's going to get the Gust.
Chthon with a big, actually Gust just on Urho, not as big as I thought it would have been, and Hyperion has been cast to force the initiation. Zuna going in deep, backing away quickly, getting the heals, and they can look for the re-engage. Yes, 50% on the Immortal due to the Hyperion and the Hydralisk. The Siege, very successful. So far, this phase very much in favor of Naventic, even with the loss of that one hero of Fan.
And Caterpillar trying to delay here, I think, is a very big misplay. It's essentially setting him up. It's not even that bad, honestly. It's just going to be losing a little bit of DPS here. But I would have just tried to overcommit to it. So now this is going to be the third Immortal going in favor of Naventic, excuse me. But keep in mind, they've literally just like only gotten like a forward advantage. They have no XP over their opponents. 2-0
in terms of kills in favor of Cog. Naventic hasn't actually picked off a single player in this game. That's surprising when you consider Zuna on Sonya. And on top of it, experience is actually just about as close as it gets. Yes, 13 will be picked up here. Yes, they have an Immortal in the bottom lane to push with, but it's not really a sizable advantage.
It definitely isn't. What I am really concerned about, depending on how many structures they do manage to get, I wouldn't be so... Oh, excuse me, that is going to be on cooldown. Never mind, I was concerned about a Hyperion here at this time. But as this game goes on, the more structures that fall, keep in mind, Medvac can be used as a backdooring tool at any point, and Hyperion is a really great tool for that. So is Zagara's Maw, the isolation here. Chthon flanking, he's going to be looking to get a Gust.
All right, he's setting it up. He's going to get 3 targets. They're pushing them back towards the wall. Big condemn onto Urho and Zuna, but those are the big beefy targets. And Fan does burst Johanna before the Ancestral connects. Now this Immortal suddenly becomes way more scary as it forces them to back away, and suddenly what I thought was going to be just a wall going down turns into a full keep.
I think they're going to make a risky decision. Okay, they're going to back out here. What I was considering is whether or not they're going to try and make a really aggressive call on the core there to try and get a large amount of poke on it, considering they have an Hyperion, get a little bit of true damage on it, and then use that Medvac as a backdooring strategy. Very risky, but it is something that would be considered here, depending on how well they practice with these kind of Medvac strategies. So they're going to back out, paint the map blue a little bit, keep a little bit of pressure on their opponents. What went from a almost dead even game, all it took was one Gust with the map objective up. It was interesting to decide to try and force that when the map objective was up, but essentially putting them in a position to where they went from just losing a keep front wall to losing an entire keep. So that misplay on the side of Cognitive is going to set them very, very far behind on what seemed to be an even game.
Yeah, the Ancestral was just a little bit too late for the save on Johanna, unfortunately, but it looks like you're right about the level 13 pick there.
Tidal waves.
To get the additional heals, yes, to keep up with the healing of that medic if at all possible. Cattle will succeed in grabbing this camp, but is it too risky? The Gust to disengage. Zuna still a little bit far forward, not going to do anything to him today.
Yeah, and now they're going to be trying to make sure they get the 16 race before the Immortal spawns. That's going to give them a large advantage. Expect them to run a 1-4 situation, depending on the Immortal positioning largely here. But you see, when it comes to Lieutenant Morales, the Medvac, you see the clear, you see specking into nade, you see spell shield. He is 100%, he is terrified of Glorum.
Yeah.
He is so afraid of his
good reason.
I mean, yeah, well, all it takes is one flask and just a large amount of burst, and he would be going down. I understand his decision-making there, but that is his entire build is committed to, is just survivability here, and it's only going to get harder to kill him as it goes on, especially into the 20. Really good timing here on the camp, waiting as long as they can. I like this decision here. Keep in mind, it will be going to the bottom lane, which isn't going to be essentially pressuring very much. It's kind of just, it's going to be moving in the core, which is going to be cleared pretty easily. The splash damage will kill it, but it's one of those mental things. It's like, you're like, oh, it's pushing it, and it's going to help the catapults. It's not that it's bad, it's just not as good as it could be, and it looks like, here we go, the 1-4 we were talking about.
All right, well, we'll see a lot of damage going down to Glowering immediately with the Ancient Spear, and they're trying to trade on into him. Urho took a good chunk of damage, but the heals there from Medic topping him off. We do see that the tidal waves are really going to help Iacona keep up with the sustain in this fight as they do back away. Should be ready again. There it goes on Glau. But this is just a safe posture, a very, very safe defense, as Naventic just wants level 16.
Yeah, it's really risky, honestly. I felt like they tried to force that fight before they got 16. Now they are going to get that 16 tier. If they wanted to try and force it now, I totally understand. Getting a little bit aggressive there, deciding to trade. Cognitive doing a very good job on the map objective here. Really well done on their half. They're going to actually not win the phase, but it's going to be very, very close.
Yeah, very, very dead even trade, but the bottom lane is a bit of an issue for Cognitive. They don't have 16, and they have a Fallen Shaman camp that is already making it to the core. They're backing away. They're conceding the Immortal phase.
They didn't show. They have no idea on the information. Naventic doesn't know that they're back there right now. Now Jaina is going to show, so they do see that. They're going to commit to the Immortal here. Without a doubt, they're going to use Urho as a defense tool here, trying to delay as long as he can. Kenma staying to make sure he doesn't get 100 out. And now, guess what? And another Immortal going on the side of
every
Naventic.
single one. 100% pickup rate.
Yeah, this one isn't enough health for them to actually get a Feign on core here. I don't think that's going to be the decision-making they're going to do. I know they love that kind of decision-making here, but if the shields of the Immortal were a little bit higher, what they could do is like posture around core and let it easily get the keep on its own and then threaten core by itself. But it is going to be a little bit too weak, and they're going to play the safer route here. It's only going to take a couple of picks, and they might be able to end.
Let's talk about the Greymane Respect. We actually see Stoneskin on Zagara. More grenade build for Medic we have against Stoneskin for the Sonya, and we have that stone form for Muradin. On top of it, Bullseye going to give a big power spike to Raynor, especially when it comes to brawling with that the Greymane as he dives in. Makes it much more risky if he gets hit by that penetrating round.
And we're going to see if Cthon decides to try and make another force. Honestly, there's no way he's going to gust while that shield is up. That ranged form is absolutely terrifying to deal with.
Glowering getting bursted, yeah, into the top lane. Does manage to back away, but that was very scary, and the keep is definitely going down here.
Hyperion's still up, so is Maw, considering those are both very crucial when considering whether or not they can go core here. I don't know if they're going to decide to make it. It could be the end of the game if they...
16 just got picked up, but Faye has to pop Ice Block, getting very low. Naventic looking for the death push. Hyperion has been cast, and Faye goes down. Yes, McIntyre falls to Glowering, but Glowering overextends, does run away, but Naventic will just focus on the core. Iacona hits away from death. They don't even need to kill him, as a Gilnean Cocktail is not sufficient defense. Kenma super low, keeping the team alive, but we're going to a game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man, the studio is on fire right now. Glowering doing some trash talk after game 1. Zuna bites back.
He does. Absolutely throwing his own words back in his face there. I mean, honestly, both teams, when game number 1 going to Cognitive, they won almost on all fronts, and then here we go. Naventic did the exact same thing in game 2, winning every single Immortal. It just seems like the games were very lopsided and maybe coming down a little bit to draft. But we are going to get into highlights here, though. Look at this questionable gust when the map objective is up in favor of Naventic. Also only hitting 2 debatably the worst targets, both with the tanks there, and it ends up costing Caterpillar's life there. And this is essentially the game ender there. The Ice Block coming out, getting a little bit too poked, and that's going to be a big cut out there for them, and they walk away with a GG and a victory there.
All right, well, very well played from Naventic. We're going to a game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. But first, a quick commercial. Alrighty, guys, welcome back here as we are getting ready for the third and final game of the second qualifier for the Global Championship, which will be happening in Korea later this year. Not only does this mean you advance to Grand Finals for that top prize pool today, but it means you have a chance to represent America, essentially.
I mean, absolutely, on the international scale, and the map is going to be taken to Sky Temple, which is honestly, both of these teams love this map, so it's not like anybody's going to be walking away with a major advantage. I mean, I'll be totally honest, I feel like Dragonshire was without a doubt Naventic's kind of map, and they ended up losing that and then taking the second one here, so now going to even footing when it comes to the home field, if you will, between both of these teams, Jake.
So now that we've seen Naventic get their comfort of Sonya, actually both the teams looked like they had compositions that they were really happy with.
Yes.
Naventic was on the upper hand. So does KOG go back to trying to snipe away picks like Sonya from their opponents?
I think so. I think, okay, so if we look at game number one, everybody was kind of off of their comfort, right? And we saw the fact that Naventic they lost on all fronts. They lost the solo lane, they lost the 4-man rotation, they didn't have the wave clear, they didn't get a single Dragon Knight. There was nothing about that game was like, oh, well, Naventic had it pretty close. Game number 2, you give Naventic exactly what they want, Cognitive gets what they want, and guess what? Not a single Immortal goes in the favor of Cognitive. So when you're looking at this game number 3, if you're Cognitive, what are you looking to do? Take them off of what they're comfortable on. It doesn't even have to be necessarily the most like you have to deny Sonya, you have to deny this, but just don't give them what they're known for, and I think that's going to be a really big advantage. I know that Zeratul is going to be too big of a hot topic here. Again, in this draft, I think you can expect it to be first pick, first ban without a doubt, still moving into this game, but then past that point, there's a lot of different things to be looking at. I think Sonya is a huge one. Rhaegar, obviously, and Li Ming, I think those are going to be what we see early within these first couple of picks here, Jake.
All right, the Sonya ban out of Naventic themselves. Even though they could have gone for the first pick, they say get him out of here. If Zeratul isn't banned, I'm sure they'll be happy to grab Zeratul themselves.
They are going to leave up everything. I think Cognitive needs to throw away a ban here. They want Li Ming, they want Zeratul, they want Rhaegar. If they ban any of those three, they've hurt themselves. They don't get it.
All right,
they need to be banning deeper. I feel like that hurt them. I feel like that's already a little bit of a favorite. Li Ming. Zeratul. No. They will not risk it. Zeratul's going to be a first pick, without a doubt. Naventic is locking that in. Li Ming will be a response on the side of Cognitive, I believe, here.
It's just, but you don't give up Zeratul. Too much of a power play. Glaurung's great with the hero. It's a comfort pick for him. Force him on the Greymane. They know how to play against the Greymane already. They've shown that.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that they're going to be denying it. If they don't, I would just be amazed. I don't even think.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I don't think it's like a 0% chance in my mind. They're thinking about it though, and it shows this hesitation. Not only shows maybe a little bit of shift in mentality, but then also just how much pressure these players are under right now, Jake.
Yeah, they want to go to the global champs, my friend. I mean, that means a lot.
Yeah, it means more than a lot. Like there's so much on the line. I mean, it even goes past just like whether or not you go to Korea, whether or not you represent North America. There's pride on the line here, and the hesitation going deep into the pool here, thinking about the draft. Zeratul is the only way to go in this situation.
That is some new pronunciation, and they pass it.
Oh my goodness, Zeratul without a doubt is going to be picked up on the side of Cognitive. They are not going to lose that hero. Huge call out.
Fan is phenomenal on Li Ming.
Zeratul Zag.
That is a given. But yes, the control, the classic combo, the Void Prison with Maw for massive control. Now they go False Head Thrall. I can't really see anything else.
Oh, good question here. With the Sonya ban, I do find more appeal in Thrall. I definitely agree with you there. I feel like Naventic prioritizes tanks higher than other teams. I think you'll expect a Murden style pick. Good against excuse me, it's going to be very good against Zeratul, but then it's also going to be a ban they can throw out onto ETC, which is a good deny synergy between those two picks. The AoE setup for the Mosh Pit is absolutely terrifying, and it's going to be that set the momentum for them, but they go with Tassadar.
All right, yeah, they're not going for... I definitely wouldn't have expected that.
There's something. That's a statement. That's not...
Abathur to force an Illidan ban?
Without Rhaegar, I don't know if Naventic is going to be looking to go Illidan. Illidan hasn't had a very good showing even with Rhaegar, let's be honest here. He hasn't done too hot in the tournament. I don't know. That Tassadar, I feel like, I don't know where they're going. They do it.
It is Illidan.
Wow. Holy cow.
So this could be an Abathur ban on the side of Cognitive or an Uther ban, whichever they find to be more valuable in this scenario. Now remember, if they don't ban Uther, they can pick him himself as well. So they definitely have a lot of control in this scenario.
Yeah, they definitely get to manipulate when it comes to the picks here, but I don't know. Naventic just put a lot of money into that one pick right there.
Zuna must be feeling very confident on Illidan
I mean,
to see this happen.
Confidence and understatement at this point, Jake. That was bold here when it comes to everything on the line here. A trip to Korea and representing North America. So if you are on the side of Cognitive, yeah, like you said, manipulating supports is an option here.
Right.
I don't know if that's what they want. I think actually, I think I would be more worried about tanks, honestly. When it comes to Cognitive, I want to be making sure that I get the tank that I want and that they don't get what they want.
I feel like they have the control on the tanks because ETC is such a big threat. Wow.
There it is. They go with the ETC. I actually like that a lot. Yeah. I think that's really really important when it comes to the remainder of the draft. When you are Naventic now, what do you want to look to deny? I don't think it's going to be a support. I think that they want Brightwing. They want Uther. They don't want to get rid of any of those kind of options
Definitely
here,
not.
so they're going to ban either a different support that they're really afraid to see. I personally don't think that's going to be any of them. They might.
Jaina? What else is good against Illidan?
Any heavy burst, so Jaina is a very good answer to her as long as she stuffs time properly. They do remove the Brightwing. That means they have a lot of options. They feel at least that they'll have a lot of options to go when it comes to the support.
Yeah, Uther Murden, insta-lock and Reverberation, and of course that Storm Bolt to lock him down, and Hammer of Justice with Divine Shield for the Zeratul.
I'm going to say...
Insta-lock.
I'm going to say something that Europe absolutely loves as an answer to Illidan is just Divine Storm. Just kill him.
Okay, well, we're going to see Tyrael played for the first time.
No, they aren't going to get that risky. There's no way.
Is it the first Tyrael pick of the tournament?
Yeah, I believe it's the first Tyrael pick of the tournament.
Sanctification?
Yeah, it's going to be a Sanctification. They used to pair it with Judgment. Back in the day, you would pair it with Judgment, but honestly, Judgment has been crippled so hard that I think you just moving in, trying to help out with the Sanctification there. Yeah, you can also just cleanse it. I mean, there's a lot of different answers. I do agree with you. I think it's going to be a Sanctification here, but what is the next pick that they're looking to do? They're going to go with the Kharazim.
This is a really weird comp for Naventic.
It's kind of like Europeans' approach to BlizzCon of 2015.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they would try and prioritize it with a Butcher to where they would force the fight and then say, well, you'd be like, oh, I'll just save my team here. And then you go, well, guess what? There's going to be a Sanctification. There's going to be, you're going to force the fight as hard as you possibly can. You can't fight on top of Sanctification when the Lamb comes out, right? Then once that happens, it's going to have Butcher Brand coming out. You can't kill him through that. When you get done with that, you have Divine Palm to deal with. They were very good. It was pretty much just like, hey, we're going to force this fight, and by the way, you can't actually win it.
Well, Jaina is still an option for this potential final pickup on the side of Cognitive.
I think it's a good pickup on theirs, but they're going to go with the Falset instead.
Global presence.
And not only is it a global presence here, but I think it provides a lot when it comes to what they want to be doing with the disengage. I don't think they want to deal with, they want to essentially meta come out, try and isolate there. The Sanctification, this is bold from Naventic.
It is.
To say the least.
I'm scared. I'm scared for him. I really am.
I don't think that they can't do it by any means. I think it's a very valid strategy. It's just one that is so out of their norm. If I've seen kind of moments where there's a lot on the line, and Zuna, if he is going to be leading a lot of the draft, being the next teammate of his, there's going to be moments where he had kind of what seemed to be at least lapse of judgment when it came to the draft, and that felt like that was one of them.
Alrighty, well, loading on in, we see Fan will be on Li Ming, Kenma on Kharazim, Zuna playing Illidan, McIntyre on Tassadar, and Urho will be playing Tyrael for Team Naventic.
And Cognitive is going to have Icona is going to be on the Uther, Cathan Luck will be playing Falstad, Glarong is going to be on the Zeratul, Faye is going to be on the Zagara, and Caterpillar will be playing Muradin here.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen, the third and final game of this semifinal. The winner will advance to Korea, and on the blue side, that is Naventic. Now let's talk about some of the strengths about Illidan. Yes, this is a bit of a weird scenario for that hero, but he's excellent at mercenary camps, and he excels when you're ahead. But if they fall behind in experience,
he struggles.
He struggles.
Yeah, he definitely struggles, and there's a lot of disengage, there's a lot of isolation, and there's a lot of CC. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a Divine Storm from Uther this game, largely to deal with the Illidan there when it comes to their comp, because Divine Shield's not that effective, not only against Illidan, but Divine Storm's honestly a direct counter. But right out the gates, we do see Tyrael's going to go with Smite damage, Purge Evil at level 1 there, so not going with any kind of that Korean-style play, but also being a solo tank, not running a, not running a regen master, which is very common in the Korean region right now if Tyrael is going to be on the solo tank here. So also kind of a little bit back in the day when you would take that Purge Evil on Tyrael, it meant that you were going to Judgment. I feel like there's no way they do it, but at the same time, I didn't expect this comp from the beginning, so maybe I'm wrong.
All right, top lane is Illidan v Uther right now. Uther not going to be staying in that top lane by himself, just making sure he can soak as long as possible while he waits for the rotation. Iacona continuing to tilt me by delaying his talents as often as possible. Likely not going to be Conjurer's Pursuit, considering that he would have missed globes by now.
Honestly, I'm at the point where it's just like, let me know when you take a game off Naventic.
Oh, and he goes for Conjurers.
I mean, yeah,
like he missed globes. Yeah. I don't get it, man. I really don't.
I think it's a lack of information type thing that he tries to provide. Honestly, at this point, I'd just be doing it to tilt you if I was a player.
So it's worth tilting me, even though you're going to Korea if you win this.
One globe and Korea for your tilt. Hashtag worth, dude.
Oh, man.
All right, so we are going to be on the bottom lane's kind of a little bit of dead. Even the global is going to be there. You see that Glowing is going to the bottom half. Again, picking on McIntyre. I think this is a habit that they just feel overall, that they feel like whether it be the weakest link. Obviously, McIntyre's the solo laner always, so it's a little bit unfair, but it just seems like they over-prioritize it comparative to other teams.
It's a mental
here.
thing, too. It's not even just weakest link. It's like, look, if you bully one player, it's going to mentally, you know, drain them.
Absolutely, and we see Zuna is capping the shots on the upper half of the map here, and they're looking like they're trading. I like this decision-making coming out from Naventic, the first team actually to kind of trade a little bit when it came to the Sky Temple, willing to give up a little bit of the early game. Glowing getting a bit of harassed, but honestly it's not going to amount to very much here between these two teams. Both giving up the XP, rotating up. We might see a little bit of a skirmish here in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, we do see Illidan controlling top by himself for the time being. Very good self-sustained hero, but wow, Cattle taking a big chunk of damage from that damage of Li Ming.
Yeah, and honestly, the rotations coming out from Naventic is giving them a rather large lead here. Caterpillar's going to be going down. We do see Zuna
comes down with the rotation, picks up the kill. Urho is low, but Illidan able to peel for him for the time being. The shields of Tassadar just barely enough to deny Glaurung that pickoff.
Very well done there to ensure the survivability. Tassadar, McIntyre coming in very clutch here. Falstead's going to be flying bottom to maybe make up for a little bit of the soak here. So Naventic, even though they did dominate a majority of the shots, haven't fallen. Oh, never mind. There's a wave on top I'm missing. They are going to be a little bit ahead in XP. You instantly see Zuna starting the Knights here. Glaurung scouting it out. Also, yes, we do see Foresight going to be picked up here at level 4 for the Monk to be able to deal with Zeratul, trying to stop Glaurung from being able to move in here, Jake.
So Foresight as well as Scryer to upgrade that Oracle.
Yes.
Do you think that's worth it over Leeching Plasma, which has so much synergy on Illidan?
Bleaching Plasma, I believe, is the 7 here. Actually, 4 is
no level 4.
No,
level 7 is Kala's Embrace.
You actually.
So with you giving up Leeching Plasma, that seems really all in. Oh, the fly of Coffin will get him out of here. Nicely done there on Falstead, denying them that potential gank.
Yeah, here they're getting a little bit of harass everywhere here and trying to figure it out. The Merc camp timings are being a little bit off between both of these teams here. I'm still torn. Am I completely wrong here? For some reason, I have that feeling. I might just be, honestly. Makes me a little bit embarrassed, I'll be totally honest, that I don't memorize the order of that talent here.
Check it out.
Pressure's on it.
You have the Observer Klein.
All right, here we go. And we're going to see the 7 talent's going to be picked up for Task. He's going to be hiding here. He's Kala's Embrace. You are right.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
No Leeching Plasma.
I do think that's a mistake, honestly. I think that Leeching Plasma is very much needed. I don't think that Oracle for Glaurung is enough.
That's partially why that synergy of Tassadar Illidan is so heavily sought after. So potential misclick here for Team Naventic. We could. I mean, who knows?
So. I mean, maybe it could be a misclick. I just feel like they're very worried about Glaurung Zeratul. It's been such a big topic point between these two teams.
That is true. All right. Well, level 7 Iacona continuing to hold his talent could be cleansed in the situation, but there aren't a lot of stuns, so it's rather unlikely. So it opens up the doors to spec into other things as he chooses.
Absolutely, and they see right now the early rotation in the bottom half of the map, the tri-lane, getting those Giants a lot of bit poke out from Naventic. They have a half-level lead. This is going to be huge for them. Falstead staying up top, getting a little bit of extra soak there, trying to not compete. I don't think Cognitive is going to rotate at all, and if they do, it's going to be a little bit risky. They're waiting out as long as possible for that Falstead flight here. Yeah, it looks like they're going to be backing out here, not taking it at least quite yet. Nope, he's rotating down, going to be moving into sight.
Foresight really giving a lot of value right there, just revealing so much space. Oracle pop from Tassadar, now showing where Glaurung was. So they have complete vision control. Naventic has almost a full level lead on their side, and it's working out rather nicely.
Yeah, it is, and they're getting the shots now. 1 fort down on their half. They have a half a fort going to be going down on mid. No mule potential on the side of Cognitive, and have a level lead. Honestly, Naventic's coming out with a very strong lead here, and they honestly haven't done much. 1 pick is all it's been taken. They've just blatantly been out-rotating, even though their opponents have a global. So really good job from Naventic understanding how to capitalize on maybe some of the misplays from their opponents.
Just really clean play so far in general. Level 10 will be reached first on the side of Naventic. I actually love the shield to keep that well up. People always devalue how useful the wells are, especially when you have these, squabbles in the top part of the map.
Well, especially around shrines, right? If you lose a little bit of fight, Caterpillar are going to be leaping out there. Dwarf Toss coming into play. We do see Sanctification. They just don't stop. They're going to be committing as hard as they possibly can here.
Wow, but the heals are good from Iacona, so he does manage to keep Cattle alive in that scenario, but the fort did indeed go down.
And they're going to be, the level 10 is going to be slowly picked up here on the side of Cognitive. They are quite a bit behind, honestly, their opponents for not getting any picks here. It shows kind of maybe the decision-making when it came to the rotations, especially around the Merc camps I was referencing while I was getting a little bit confused. But now they're going to pick it up. Iacona's going to hide it, but I'm calling Storm.
D-Storm.
I'm calling Storm.
Which is it going to be?
If this was me, I'd be looking to get Storm in this type of situation. I don't think you need Divine Shield. They have only Illidan and Li Ming. Shield isn't going to be that effective for the most part. You have a lot of disengage. All you need to do is kill Illidan, take the Storm.
All right, well, we do see that the 7-sided strike did just come off cooldown, so they are at max power once again, but you have to talk about the amount of control on the side of Cog now that they have their heroics. Void Prison and Maw, if you stagger those onto 2 heroes, even just one, it can have a profound impact on the team fight, and then Mighty Gus can give you great separation of the enemy team.
Absolutely, they can there, and you see, we're gonna have Cognitive is gonna be picking up these giants. They're gonna be split pushing while the map objective is gonna be spawning, and Iacona is still yet to take it. We're gonna be interested to see how they decide to take this team fight here. If they're gonna decide to rotate up and get the skirmish, it shows that Cognitive feels that their composition is gonna be effective enough to duel here. But keep in mind, if they fight on the Sanctification, it's gonna be very hard for Cognitive to do very much here. And look for the Void coming out on the side of. Or from Glaurung, excuse me here. Split pressure from both Mercs from both teams here, so no team with a major advantage.
Yeah, that top fort would go down
Shield.
first in favor of Naventic if they do it. And Divine Shield, just like get out a free card for Zeratul if Glau is in a bad spot or any ally. Metamorphosis going in. Glaurung needs that Divine Shield, keeps him alive in the VP on 3, but they cannot do anything in the situation. Just a completely defensive Void Prison. That is a huge win for Naventic.
That was absolutely colossal now. Even though they don't walk away with a kill, that's 3 ultimates there going to be burned on the side of Cognitive. Half the shot's going to be on mid, and that's really good considering that Illidan composition for Naventic. They're going to re-engage in the skirmish, and they have nothing to do with the Illidan.
I don't know. The force wall on Faye is so bad. Glaurung has to dive away. Faye will go down here to the Illidan dive. A 3-man Maw is very good in the death breath of that Zagara, but Zeratul falls as well. 2-0 in favor of Naventic. The force wall not going to get there in time, and a huge win for Naventic, now taking a more than a level lead.
It seems interesting when you're facing against an Illidan, you burn a majority of your ultimates, you do not win the skirmish, you back out, you tap well, and you decide to retake the fight. Really interesting decision-making coming out of the side of Cognitive. I feel like once they lost that there, not only the structures obviously being very far behind, but now a large amount of XP and showing that if they take team fights without their ultimates and properly stacking them, Zuna is going to be able to dance all over them. We've been talking about the strength of Illidan if you do not focus around him, and their best tools.
It just seems so risky.
They have no Storm, they burnt Void, they only had Maw, and then notice when that team fight engaged, keep in mind, Zuna's been keeping track of this, and he will for the rest of the game. Cattle went in and got a little bit harassed with a Storm Bolt. The minute that happened, he engaged because he knows that's one of the only CCs they have to deal with him. Until 16, Benediction, Shrink Ray is only barely going to be picked up at 13 here. Void is the only other answer other than Maw. And Gus, like, big ultimates are totally worse. Stormbolt has to be patient. They need to be very patient on the side of Cognitive, or Zuna is going to be able to dance again all over him.
So in that situation where they did not have heroic abilities, would it have been better for Cog to go to the bottom lane, just trade the temples? All right.
It's not optimal, but honestly, if you lose the team fight that hard,
big pick potential here on Zuna. First aid has been popped. Evasion as well. And he's going to be able to need the heals here from Urho. No shield cast, just doesn't need the dismount. Good rotation from Naventic.
Absolutely, and now when you look at the structures, though, there is only a level lead on the side of Naventic, and yes, their composition has been rather questionable here, but, or not questionable so much, but more of just like the Illidan Tyrael. We haven't been questioning whether or not it's going to be effective. It blatantly has shown to be effective. Just not something you typically see in North America, but now structurally, Cognitive is so far behind. They're losing a keep almost for every one of the shrines. Mid shrine will get almost a keep. Bottom shrine will 100% confirm a keep here, and 16 tiers closing in for them.
That is actually just insane. All 3 forts on the side of Naventic still strong and healthy, and level 16 is closing in rapidly. Fan with the aggressive play, forcing Cawthon to use that barrel roll back to safety.
Yeah, and Cognitive needs to force a fight here, make something happen. Notice how they're giving up a fort on bottom for free. I love this. I absolutely love this call on the side of Naventic. Just, they're trying, do you see Cognitive? They're desperate. They know when they hit 16, they can't take a fight. So they're like, guys, we'll take the fort, we'll make the rotation. Look at Zuna staying up top. Kenma is staying in mid. They know that the only way they can risk this game is, this is the one decision that this shows why they're a top level team. Every other team would panic and defend that. They'd be like, we have the lead, but they say, guys, play safe.
Yeah,
just get 16. Guess what? Now, if they want to take a fort, Zuna and friends are going to be looking at them and say, guess what? I am hungry. Let's go.
I mean, Circle of Life, Stone Skin, we have the full-on teleport style for Mega Sustain. This team just became near impossible to kill, especially with Prescience, with Dimensional Warp, and lastly, Blood for Blood on Tyrael. Big power spike for Naventic.
Definitely a big advantage for Naventic to be concentrating on the bottom shrine. It's 100% going to confirm that the bottom keep will die. Not only that, it gives them an area around the boss so their opponents can't risk possibly taking it. So they're going to be positioning around this very quickly here. Meanwhile, you're going to see Cognitive trying to soak all the lanes, get 16 as best as possible. It's absolutely crucial, though. Zuna is going to be on the shrine here. It's crucial for Naventic. They're going to get a little bit of hyphy here. You see them moving aggressive. If they move too far from the shrine, they might be able to lose this fight.
He's looking for that VP. They are a little clumped, but the Oracle was used to reveal his location. They need to be careful about clumping because VP is how Cognitive gets back into this match.
They're going to force before they hit 16. This is insane. This is very risky on their front.
The VP on 2 targets. We see Urho does have that big Sanctification ready to go, and he uses it rather early in this battle just in a safety precaution.
Yeah, that definitely was very early use of a cooldown there, but they're still getting the skirmish off here. They don't have 16 tier advantage. I'm honestly surprised Zuna doesn't move up to force. Void Prison's down. They don't have 16.
Yeah.
Cattle is way out of position now, trying to get on the cap, getting damage on the Zuna. He's popping a lot of cooldowns, though. This team fight is going to break out before they hit 16. Care for them all.
The huge Li-Ming damage from above the flank, and the reset will be achieved. Shrink rate on Fan, but he does not care. Doesn't get the double, the reset, but the damage output is too much. Glaurung trying to blink the safety. The desperate heal gets there, and we do see Cawthon able to fly back to safety. Only 1 pick, but they have to completely disengage from the bottom lane.
I mean, I feel like Cognitive's mentality is slowly deteriorating. I feel like that's the only decision making. Like, it didn't make sense that they were so aggressive when they were 16 tier and there was no wave. Nobody was split soaking. Fawcett wasn't split soaking. And they forced with a void, and then they re-engaged after the void was done. Again, second time this game against it Illidan, they decided to do that, but maybe, the force wall barely missing there. Now the top shots are not going to confirm a keep here.
They want Glaurung, and they want him back. They are chasing hard. Blink will get him out of the situation, and they will just go and settle for the top shrine.
Now they do have 16 tier advantage. Keep in mind there's 56 seconds on Metamorphosis, so when the Void Prison's going to spawn in come off cooldown in 15 seconds, Cognitive has the first time in this game an advantage in a team fight. But if they do not, you see that Naventic understands without Metamorphosis, they don't have the best of team fights here, and Void is absolutely crucial here. But like I said, I'm really questioning why they decided to engage when they don't have Void Prison and they don't have the same talent here, especially a big one like 16.
Okay, well, Avatar and that Divine Shield are both now ready to roll.
Meta's on 15-second cooldown. Expect the fight to happen after that point, never before.
Huge chunk damage going out from Fan. Glaurung goes in, does good poke, but not quite enough, and Li-Ming bursting through that with a 7-sided strike of Karazim. A 3-man Void Prison. Can they follow up with the Maw? No, Sanctification was cast to deny any opportunity.
Absolutely, and by the way, they just lost mid-keep from minions alone. Giants are pushing towards the core.
Oh, man.
So now that shots are going to be even more value here for the rest of the game.
Cognitive is running out of time. This being controlled. 2 keeps are down in control of this top temple for Naventic. The Metamorphosis has gone in, but the Gust for the disengage. Divine Shield is keeping Glaurung topped off, but can they keep Kettle alive? Yes, the Maw is enough, and the Shrink Ray forcing Kenma away, even getting him to pop that shield.
Absolutely, and it's a situation where, they might not have lost anybody, but they definitely didn't win the battle here on the side of Cognitive. It just seems like their team fight has no ability to force the win here. It just feels like if they don't get anything out of the Void, if they don't manage to get a kill, or a big advantage somewhere. I just don't understand how their comp's going to be able to deal with this Illidan and the Sanctification. They seem to drop the Void, then you see a Sanctification hit, and then it's just like, okay, what do we do? Everybody just kind of stands around for a little bit there. So I really feel like they need to force the Sanct as best as they possibly can with a little bit of their hats. They have 2 very good sustained DPS. As long as they don't get poked down, they will be all right. And then past that point, try to get a Void and get a big pick. Cognitive needs to make something happen here. Look at, they're dancing around the boss. Cognitive is forcing this boss, trying to see if Naventic will contest. Right. This is one of the only ways Naventic can lose the game. This is one of the only ways, and so they're going to force.
Remember the power of Mighty Gust in these situations, the power of all these control Hoeks, but
honestly, I'd give it up.
25 seconds left for the Moss, 7 seconds for that Void Prison, so that will be an option here, and Naventic does want to defend this. Is this a risk? Is this worth it?
Honestly, if I was Naventic, if they started that boss and fully committed before I was 20, I would let them have it.
Yeah, I
Sky
think
Temple boss is
you
not
could
very
trade out the
effective.
top keep. I mean, it's almost down.
Anything. I would just, but a huge gust coming up from Chthon.
Yeah, big damage on Chthon. After that, the 7-sided strike just on Cattle, but he pops the Avatar and the self-sustain. Urho getting chunked, but a big Sanctification, but the Void Prison will deny them 3 targets within that prison. The Mob follow-up, just a moment too early. They miss it. That is a huge misplay. The Invulnerable on McIntyre gets him out of there. We see that Tyrael will be the first to fall, but the Explorers Explosion looking to capitalize on some damage. Metamorphosis going in, they're re-engaging, but Zuna is taking way too much damage, and actually the huge force wall does buy him a bit of an opportunity. He flips on a white, glowering over the wall, looking to re-engage, but Oracle prevents him from doing so.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, a colossal wave is pushing in.
Man.
Guess what? You're losing your keep once more. They don't need to risk anything here. Wait for level 20. That was the first team fight that Cognitive has been able to force Sanctification before Void.
Yes, imagine if the Maw connected.
Imagine if the Maw connected, exactly. That's the first time they'd be able to play this team fight a little bit properly when considering the Sanctification. So really well done on their part there, trying to abuse Urho, make him a little bit trigger happy on the Sanctification. Now they're going to be fighting into a level 20 team here. Honestly, the fact that Naventic is even willing to kind of dabble in this
Illidan
is
fighting
risky.
Zeratul below this is a bit of a squabble. Okay, he knows where he is, but Glowering is lurking in the shadows. Faye getting chunked down. This Kharazim going forward with Radiant Dash, and that's Zuna's cue to go in, but the Gust will disengage.
This
40
is still
seconds.
4 versus 5.
Oh, a wasted 7-sided strike due to that Mighty Gust. That is a huge win.
That was a huge pickup there. That is exactly what they're going to do to possibly be able to lose this game here. They still haven't managed to hit level 20. They took a 4 versus 5 there. Really worried about the shots, but what are the shots going to be doing? Threatening at most a keep front wall. It's not going to be confirming a core or keep here. They're backing out because the Giants on the bottom, and they're backing out because that's 4 versus 4.
Half or a quarter of the ammunition left on this mid temple. But Falstad is flying back on in. Glowering looking around, but the double vision really paying off, and Li Ming doing a good bit of damage. 2-man Void Prison. Can they follow up? Sanct is ready. He will be getting a position to capture, and Glowering needs that Divine Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. Glowering barely be able to survive that.
Maw on no one in the back. Big cooldowns have been used.
Yeah, that was actually colossal. The fact that the Maw missed there was huge. They are going to confirm the rest of these shots. This will confirm a keep here, so all 3 keeps are going to be down. This next shots are going to be going to core, but somehow they walk away with a win. I don't know. Somehow Naventic walked away with a win in a situation that was a 4 versus 5, even with Falstad flying just from the staggered use of ultimates there. A little bit questionable there, but both teams actually taking really interesting choice on fights. You saw that 4 versus 5 skirmish without the Tyrael leading to Zuna's life going down there. Really risky play on their part, but now the 5% left on the core, honestly, they could backdoor the core at almost any point with Tyrael. They have a lot of the Sanctification is a very good sieging tool.
All right, well, this is a very tense moment. Cognitive just got their level 20 Storm Talent, so they've evened things up in terms of the team fight capability. But looking at the map, 3 keeps standing strong for Naventic, whereas every keep has been removed on the side of Cognitive. Not only does this mean catapults in all 3 lanes, but a single temple will end the game. The Gust going down, huge damage from Chthon. The Sanctification has now been cast to try to sustain through this. The 7-sided strike doing some solid damage, but the force wall completely separating the team. Kenma keeping them topped off, and we do see Falstad falls early. The reset of Li Ming will get Cattle, and that's a 2-man. Make it 3 with Iacona, and Naventic might have this game-winning push.
Absolutely. Redemption's going to be up. Uther will still be able to be alive, but I don't think that's going to be it. Remember, Illidan's one of the best divers in the entire game when it comes to core. They're going to confirm the kill onto him. They have Void still up. It's going to be burnt, but it doesn't matter.
Overlap.
Kona's
That's a lot of overlap.
Z-Shield came out. That was huge. They just burnt both of their denies for the core. That's going to be it.
Awful.
Naventic's going to be able to go on the core. They have all the tools that they need. There's only 3 people up. There's no zoning tools. Faye's going to be able to go down here, but this is going to be it. Naventic is going to win this game.
They're channeling on the core. The shields are falling, and Naventic looking to advance on to the Global Championship in Korea, joining Cloud9 as the 2 teams representing North America. GG!
I mean, honestly, that game, there was a lot of moments that I would consider questionable, but that very ending play, the gust onto a team fight, they forced a team fight when they didn't have Void and they didn't have Maw. And then it just single-handedly lost in the team fight. That fighting gust was huge, but it lost in the game. And now the banter coming out between these 2 teams is insane.
To see Tazza come out to try to calm them down. They are feeling the hype. Let's take a look at some of the better replays from this event. That gust not sufficient. The resets of Li Ming showing the power of that hero. Fan absolutely phenomenal. And Illidan, they made it work. We had our doubts, but they made it work.
It wasn't, yeah, I feel like I didn't expect the Tiro to come in. It was beautiful. It was a response to the Zeratul with the Void, and it really forced a lot of misplays on the front of Cognitive. But again, I can't, beyond the fact that 4 vs 5s were forced at times that I didn't totally understand, the use of Void Prison at certain times here, just one thing that I really want to talk about at the very end, the forcing of VP and the forcing of Mob was what 100% what was able to confirm the game for Naventic at the very end of that game. Also, oh, here we see a little bit of a play here.
Oh,
there's no Maw and there's no Gust.
Well, I don't know what happened to
Gust,
VP. They're both off cooldown. Now, that was the beautifulest play out of Falstad on Cup Unlock.
Yeah.
Getting that huge Gust. If they had the follow-up, this game could have easily gone to Cognitive.
I mean, you're not wrong, but whenever you see an Illidan, how many times do you say, "Hey guys, all my zoning tools, all my really good
tools.
like all my zoning tools, all my zoning tools, all of our isolation that we have that's so good to deal with Illidan, let's just force a fight when it's like, I don't know, not up." Like,
right.
Why? In what world is that a smart choice?
It just seems like an act of desperation. They knew they were out of keeps. They knew that one more temple would have more or less ended the game, and they had to make something happen then and there.
I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of that game showed the pressure and the mental kind of adjustments that the teams had to make midway, because you saw even Naventic was forcing a 4 vs 5 at certain times. You saw the force on a fight without Void Prism on the side of Cognitive, even though they have 16 tier. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what some of the players have to say about this game here.
I'm here with Kenma. Kenma, that was a crazy series, and we had mentioned that we thought, you know, Naventic was favored very well to win, but we were surprised in that first match. We saw that 17-minute, very greedy Dragon Knight. Did that catch you guys by surprise as well?
Yeah, we kind of messed up the draft a bit. We were debating between Thrall and Muradin in the first round, and then we ended up taking Muradin. And then while we had the better rotation, like we got all the towers and stuff, but we couldn't. Like Zag just put up like infinite creep, and it was just like too hard to deal with their globals. So like we should have just taken Thrall earlier to deal with the Zag lane, so he couldn't have gotten up creep everywhere.
And how did you guys adjust for those next 2 matches? Because they seem to work out much better for you.
Yeah, the second game we were really confident on Battlefield, so like we were pretty sure that was going to be an easy W. And then game 3, we knew that they were probably going to draft exactly the same exact way as they did the first game, and we didn't want to run that back because like we just lost and it's not a good mood. So we said we'll take tasks early and just give them Zeratul and then just get rid of the Sonya and then run Illidan because they don't expect Illidan because we haven't played it the whole tournament. So we ran that, and then I got banned out. Like we kind of banned out my supports too, and I had to play Monk, who's not very good with Illidan, but it ended up working, so it was okay.
It did end up working. You guys are going to advance. Casters, did you have any questions about this crazy matchup?
You know, I just want to talk about Butcher because he's a hero that has been more or less extinct for a long time. Where do you think his place is? Is he a mega niche pick? Like, he didn't seem to work out too well for you.
I think, well, we kind of like forced the Butcher pick. It wasn't really a good look. We probably should have, like I was saying earlier, we should have took Thrall in the first rotation and maybe not prioritize Muradin as highly as we did. But since we stuck ourselves in that situation, it was kind of like, do we run Butcher here or like a second tank? And I personally, like our team doesn't prefer to run double tank very much. So we ended up picking Butcher there because Illidan wasn't a good look at all on that first game. So we kind of got stuck on it, kind of. We could have run double tank, but we just decided not to, so.
That was really interesting decision making there. Do you feel like in the first game, if you had done a little bit better when it came to wave clear on the bottom 4, like your top lane was inevitably going to lose because you're just the lack of Thrall, like you were talking about. So like I just felt like a lot of when it came to that first game, if you had a better 4-man, you would have been better off in that game. It wasn't even so much that Butcher was necessarily a bad pick. It's just that your lack of wave clear hurt you more than anything.
Yeah, we might have been better off just picking Leoric or Johanna or something like that, but we just ended up like we ended up like we were actually winning like the siege war like pretty hard with our rotation in Liming, but we ended up just taking a really bad fight for no reason. We just fought for no reason, and we got like mod into mosh pit, and then the game was just over after that. So.
Well, I'm going to take you out of the game here for a second because your mind has just been there and working so hard. But I want to give you some context. You're standing here because you are going to go to Korea with your team. You are going to represent North America as one of the representatives. You're now going on to the finals to face Cloud9. You're in the big money. You're traveling with your brother and your teammates. Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling right now and what this means to you.
First of all, it sounds cliche, but I'm going to thank the haters, right? Because like, Urho and Zuna are the two reasons that I didn't quit playing this game. When, like, after I left C9, I tried to build my own team. It didn't work out for me. I didn't even get to play in the last BlizzCon, and I've been just, like, I've been trying to keep my skill up in case an opportunity arise or whatever. and finally, I got the opportunity to show that I can compete, and I'm one of the best, and it's been great. And it's great to have a team that, you know, that like lets you, I don't know what I'm even
You're giving me the feels, man. It's so good. You're giving me the feels. So it's safe to say this means the world to you.
Yeah, like this is like all I've been doing for the last, like since when did I win the first BlizzCon? Like the BlizzCon before last BlizzCon is like I started playing the game like 2 months before that, so it's already been a year and a half or something like that. You know, it's been a long time.
Well, now we move into the finals. So we will give you some time to rest, recuperate, celebrate with your team. And guys, we will be back with more Heroes of the Storm with our finals, Naventic versus Cloud9, right after this.